Oh man, we back. My boy Trey. Martin Luther King Day. Yeah, what we gonna talk about today?
First, make sure you guys subscribe because today we're about to get into a very serious topic. So you have a lot of people. Well, I'm just going to talk about black people today. So you got a lot of black people that say Dr. King, he didn't do good for black people. His method was bad. What he stood for was wrong. He didn't help black people. He just hurt black people. So today I'm going to debunk all of that for all you nappy headed niggas out there that always got something to say about the king. Today we're gonna get into the king and what he actually stood for and what he actually got accomplished for black people and how it can help us today in these times. First question.
Yes, sir. So there's always been a debate, for the black people as far as who was better for us. Malcolm. Even though both brothers obviously played a big
Yeah,
role,
yeah, they good.
but
Yeah.
the big debate, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, who had the bigger impact.
Okay. I'm gonna just start by saying this. Malcolm X is a beautiful brother. Martin Luther King was a beautiful brother, and they was both for black people, and they both played a role in today's society. Everything that they fought, everything that they went through helped black people today. We just gonna say that. But as far as who was better, I'm gonna let y'all decide that. But I can say this: a lot of laws got passed up under Dr. King, and I don't really know any laws that got passed because of Malcolm X. So a lot of people try to play Martin Luther King like he was a pacifist and he was this and he was that. And I'm like, how? How is that possible? Okay, he's a pacifist. Okay, you can say that. But he marched for people's rights. When you look at Malcolm, you know, he had the Nation of Islam on his side, but he really didn't have a big impact in changing laws and getting black people civil rights like Martin Luther King did. So when you look at Martin Luther King, you got the voting rights passed, civil rights passed. You know, Without Martin Luther King, black people wouldn't be able to walk in the streets in southern states and in southern cities without getting hit over the side of the head if they look at a white woman wrong, or they can be lied and accused or something. They can have their land taken or anything like that. That got passed not because of Malcolm X, but because of Martin Luther King Jr. And a lot of people say that, well, he wasn't that militant. He was militant. You just missed the way he was militant. Okay? We're going to get back into that. So when you look at certain stuff like that, you know, a lot of shit was fucked up in the South. A lot of things that happened to black people. Without Dr. King passing them laws, we'll still be getting hung from trees. And our kids will still be part of the chain gangs. Even though our black men here in America get convicted for petty crimes or trumped up charges, but just imagine back in those days it was way worse, where kids would just get kidnapped and drugged out their house, beat, lynched, killed. All of these things, you know, that happened to us. You had kids that was forced to go to prison and work as slaves. You know, you had families that had to work on farms up under Jim Crow as sharecroppers. My grandmother was one of those sharecroppers. So you had black people that was working as sharecroppers barely making a living wage, not even making a living wage. Sometimes they didn't even get paid in dollars or money or cents or anything like that. They got paid by the sharecropper in what you would call like a wooden nickel or something, or some type of certificate or something, where after you have a hard day's work, you got to go spend that certificate or a wooden nickel or whatever with the owner of the store. But the owner of the store also owns the plantation that you're working on. And we lived in huts and shit like that on these lands. And so when they say Martin Luther King didn't get nothing passed or anything for us like that, I'm like, bro, you wouldn't even be able to survive and have the luxuries of living without Dr. King, you know? So I'm thinking, what laws did Malcolm X truly pass that help black people in today's society? Up under Martin Luther King, you can elect a black mayor or a black congresswoman or a congressman or black senator. You can elect your own officials of your community, black police chief. Because back in the day, before Dr. King, you had a lot of racist police chief, a lot of judges, a lot of racist DAs, that was hanging black people. But when Martin Luther King came, he made it optional for us to select our own people that look like us, and that's power within itself. city count. What is the word I'm looking for? City. Damn, come on. See, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a city like city councilman or something like that, or a judge. He gave us power to have people in power that look like us. You know, So I'm thinking, what have Malcolm X really did that's like good to help black people in a major way? You know, he unified black people for one, and his militancy was good. But I just can't really think of something massive and great that he did that Dr. King didn't do. Dr. King actually put laws for black people, you know, put laws on the board for black people, gave black people the civil rights, and that was a big thing. We can actually vote, and there is just so much goes into voting, you know. When you in control of voting and you can elect people that look like you, that means you can elect people that control the money in your city or your county, even your state, so they can redistribution the funds to go to wherever they want it to go to. So that's powerful within itself. And I really just don't know um, what people don't understand about that. So voting is very important, What else could I say about this topic? Martin Luther King, a lot of people say Malcolm X was more militant. Martin Luther King was so militant, he said, listen, black people need jobs, they working for low wages, and we need to integrate these schools and get some of this government funding because we pay taxes like everybody else pay taxes, but we can't even go to certain schools to get certain degrees or different things of that nature. So we need the same funding, the same amount of books, everything need to be equal to white people because we pay taxes the same. And so this is a very important point. A lot of people say, "Well, Martin Luther King didn't fight. He wasn't radical or anything like that. He didn't have to. You know what he did? He was so radical and so smart. While Malcolm X was saying black people need to get militant and arm themselves and all that. Martin Luther King believed in black people having arms and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Malcolm believed the same thing. But Malcolm never moved and had nobody uh, actually fight with rifles and weaponry against the government. But Martin Luther King did. And I'm going to tell you how. So, LBJ, right? Martin Luther King came to him and said, well, we can start voting Democrat if you give us something. And he's like, well, what can I do for it? He's like, well, we got kids that's trying to desegregate schools, but, you might have a racist sheriff that comes in and racist police force, police chief, and all of this that's going to try to stop it. So Martin Luther King is so radical, he actually got the federal government to sign off on troops to be on the ground to go against those racist cops and racist sheriffs. He actually got the National Guard to come in and fight his battle. So you got a black man that got white men as the National Guards fighting against racist cops. So what's more powerful than that? You know what I'm saying? So you got this black man that's got a black agenda, and you got two groups of different white people, the National Guard and the white cops, face to face, going against each other for a black cause. So at the end of the day, Martin Luther King was so radical, he had white people ready to die and kill for a black cause. King Wizard.
It's so true.
Dr. King Wizard. What's the next question?
So yeah, man, I've been seeing a lot of trending comments, about the debate and stuff, and also Martin Luther King. He's saying he's getting a bad rep for as far as was he bad for black people economically?
Good one. Okay, so a lot of people say he was bad for black people economically because, they say, well, when people stop spending money, they say people stopped spending money with black businesses and went to white businesses. But he never told you to do that. If you read his book and if you listen to his speeches, he said we need to withdraw from companies that do not want to hire us. We need to withdraw from the companies. And what he was also fighting for is equal pay for black people and equal rights in the workplace. Because you had certain white people that work places in the South and all over, you know, to where they can go to work bullshit and make a way bigger amount of money, take home a bigger amount of money than black people. So you had black people that had lower wages and white men that had higher wages, and black people was doing most of the work. So Dr. King was like, nah, man, no, no, we need to get paid more. You know, we need the same amount of revenue coming in as them. So the black household needs the same amount if we're doing the same job, and y'all need to hire us and stop trying to cut us off from wealth. And we need better worker rights, more work like worker rights that's actually decent for a human being. So that was one of the things that he did that was good for black people economically. So and then another thing that he did that was good for black people, you know, when it comes to the dollars, he said, well, if we pay taxes, we need to also get some money from taxes. So when you see white farmers, they get grants and loans for their farms. Black people need to get the same grants and the same loans. So that was another thing that he did. He was fighting for farmers to get grants and loans too for their farms. And then when you look at our schools and stuff like that, and with education, you know, to be dentists, doctors, and stuff like that, he said, well, if white schools getting funding for people to be professional, we also need to get funding for people to be professional in these jobs and stuff. So our schools need to get more, because they do make a big difference when you have more funding in a school than a school with little funding. So that was another thing. And what else did he do? He also marched for like sanitational workers' rights too. That was black men that was getting screwed over in the sanitational business. He did a march for them to get higher pay, higher pay and good worker rights and all that. Worker rights that's actually good. So it's different stuff that he did that actually helped black people that way too. So when people say he was bad economically for black people, come on, bro. He never told black people to stop shopping with black people. He actually said the opposite. He said we should spend with each other, we should buy insurance from each other, we should bank with black banks. He said all of those things. So when people say he was bad for black people that way, I'm like, bro, how? You know, what's the next one?
So Martin Luther King, a very religious man. Preached about following God. So what you want to preach to these black brothers and sisters out there, that kind of question that, about following God, following the God and.
Yeah, so a lot of people try to say that Martin Luther King, oh, he's all about that Jesus talk and this. Well, let me ask you a question. When has it ever been a time where the black man and woman didn't follow a God or a religion? So I don't see nothing wrong with following a God or a religion. So a lot of people say, oh, he do this, he preach this and that. Yeah, he believe in a higher being, And a lot of people say, well, people that's Christians or people that believe in the Bible and believe in Jesus as pacifists, and the Bible is teach us to still be slaves and be passive and all this. I'm like, bro, how? You have real warriors in the Bible. You had David, he was a real warrior. You had Hezekiah. You had Joshua. You had Moses. It was a lot of men in the Bible that was real warriors. You had Saul. So I'm like, how is he? How is it bad for black people to follow God in a religion? I think it'd be bad if we didn't have a God in a religion. They try to say, well, he was a Christian. The Christian church is weak, and this. You can say the Christian church is weak. You can say whatever you want to say, but at the end of the day, that's where most black people was at that time, and that's where most black people congregated at. And there was a lot of Christians that bared arms and actually fought off white militia groups and KKK members and protect their town and their city or whatever, and their kids and their household. Even when you look at Nat Turner, a real revolutionary, he actually used the Bible to help free himself and other slaves. And people gonna say, well, he died in it, but you hear what I said? He actually helped free himself. So even though he died as a free man, not a slave, and he fought, as a warrior using the Bible. So I don't think the Bible is pacifist, and I think as black people, we should really get more in tune with the Bible and study Christ more, because everything in the Bible that's been prophesied is coming true. And anybody that tells you, oh no, we need to step away from the Bible, I don't, I they probably don't have any wisdom of the Bible or anything. Or you should just ask them, well, if you say we need to step away from the Bible, what can unify us as a people other than God? Like, what is your end goal? What is your plans? And they probably can't tell you. What's the next one?
So, again, kind of getting back to the other topic as far as like black people economically. Also, just a lot of comments about did Martin Luther King just want black people to be accepted by whites? Like, was that his goal or?
Okay, so let's dive into that. Martin Luther King wanted black people to be accepted by whites, but not for what most people think. They think he wanted, I want black boys and black girls to hold hands and this and that. So they try to say and try to play him like wanting to be a house nigga, but that's not the case. What he wanted was white people to see that black people is human. So then once you see black people as human, and the country is mostly ran by white people at this time, the country is ran by white people, they must see us as humans to get behind us and fight for our cause. So while you had certain groups, Nation of Islam, I like that group, very powerful brothers. But when you had groups like that, and Black Panther groups, another powerful group, I like them brothers. Them brothers really, if they really pushed the issue, they would have had to fight against the U.S. government in guerrilla warfare. But Martin Luther King got more wits, than that. He's more smarter, Like I said, King Wizard. So he understood, I'm not gonna sacrifice my people. So what I'd rather do, we can march, we might get hit, we might get roughed up a little bit, but I want white people to see us as human. So once white people see us as human, then they'll fight for our cause also, and we don't have to shed no blood. We don't have to shoot no bullet. So what he did was let white people see us as human. Okay, they started joining the cause. Some white people started joining the cause, and then he got the ear of the president, like I said earlier. And so now white people see us as human. That's why he wanted us to eat in the restaurants and go to them schools, for white people can see our humanity. That's one of the reasons why. So then white people can, some white people can side with us, and then the other ones just gonna be racist bigot anyway. So when he did that, black people didn't have to shed no blood or lose no life fighting in a guerrilla warfare against against this government. So like I said, OBJ seen the humanity in black people and realized that black people vote Democrat, and he said, okay, I'm gonna send troops to go against these racist bigots. So he sent the National Guard, and therefore, like I said, Malcolm X, I don't think he can get white people to fight against other white people for him. I don't think the Black Panther can actually get white people to fight white people for the Black Panther Party. I don't think Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seals, I don't think they could have did that. But Malcolm X, a beautiful brother, Huey P. Newton, beautiful brother. But at the end of the day, Martin Luther King was able to do that. Like I said, King Wizard, he was able to do some powerful, beautiful things. You got to be a genius and a mastermind to make other white people fight against other white people for the benefit of black people. You got to be a special brother, and that brother was special. Yeah. What's the next one?
Oh man, top it off, man. This one's a little bit interesting. Okay. You say allegedly. I don't know if we have the facts on this one, but they say Martin Luther King cheated on his wife. He was a cheater. It's just something that was trending about that as well. You got anything about that?
Y'all hear a bunch of black Negroes, a bunch of racist white boys all say the same. Oh, he liked white girls and this and that. He was a cheater and this and that. And so I got something to tell you, so-called black power niggas, that really pro-stupid, because y'all not gonna do nothing. Y'all just gonna get on the internet and make a punk ass video like I'm making. And so y'all try to say the black queen, this, that, this, and that. Y'all sisters is queen, We love our sisters, but you guys are simps, and y'all act like y'all really down, but y'all really not. So a lot of y'all pushing this, that Malcolm X cheated on his wife and he loved white women. But at the end of the day, let's really break into it. Let's really get into it. Let's really get into it. It's no video footage of Martin Luther King cheating on his wife with white women. It's nothing like that. You know, the rumor was started by the FBI. It was not started by people seeing it or anything like that. This rumor was started by the FBI. So when you look inside of J. Edgar Hoover and what he stood for, he said he wanted to stop a black messiah. And what was the closest thing to a black messiah of that day? It was Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. So he had to find a way to try to demonize Martin Luther King. So he said he was a whoremonger. He liked orgies and all kind of crazy shit. But that was a lie. And if they come out right now today and drop the FBI files and say that in there, I say that's a lie. I'm not about to listen to a white racist FBI organization to try to demonize Martin Luther King, you know, to push their agenda. So what I need black people to understand. So every time you say Martin Luther King was a whoremonger, he loved white women, and he was a cheater, and this and that, you just pushing white propaganda at the end of the day, and y'all are idiots. And it's like that, and that's the way it is.